Hello and welcome to The Whole Traveler. I'm Jeffrey Gard and today we are talking about Buenos Aires, Argentina. Are you planning on going to that incredible city anytime soon? Well, if you are and you're looking for practical information on things like the airports, neighborhoods, hotels, how to get around, currency conversions, this video covers all of that and more so that you get to have an amazing time in Buenos Aires. So this is by no means a comprehensive list, but it's designed to give you a lot of practical, helpful information about how to navigate yourself when you get to Buenos Aires and what to expect in a kind of general, broad sense. If you have specific questions, drop a comment, leave your questions in the comment section, or if you feel like there's something that you want to add that can help first-time visitors, drop it. Let's start a thread. When is a good time to go? We visited in the spring, we visited in November, and it was incredible. The air was fragrant with the jacarandas and flowers blooming everywhere. The parks were alive with people, children playing, families getting together, friends getting together. Everyone was having fun. Springtime is a magical time of year. What's important to know about the airports? So what you need to know are that there are two airports, Jorge Newbery Airport for regional and domestic flights, and Ezeiza Airport for international flights. Ezeiza is out in the middle of nowhere, but that's where you'll land if you're flying direct from the US or any other country that is not part of the Southern Cone. If you're flying from Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, or Paraguay, you're gonna fly into Jorge Newbery Airport, not Ezeiza. I do not like Ezeiza Airport. I want to avoid flying into Ezeiza at all costs, not just because it's an hour drive away from the city center in Buenos Aires, but also you have to remember you're flying with large planes that all simultaneously land at relatively the same time. So you're waiting in very long lines to clear border security and customs. That takes a really long time at Ezeiza because there's just so many people. I didn't like that experience, and I also got scammed from the taxi ride. What I definitely recommend, when you clear customs, you're gonna come out into the arrivals hall, allow your phone's Wi-Fi to kick in and order an Uber. Do not go to that little kiosk, that transportation kiosk, and order a car there. Do not do that, they will scam you. I got scammed. I ended up paying 120 USD dollars for a car ride from Ezeiza to the city center when all I needed to pay was 20 something on Uber. Use an Uber, it will protect you. Also, to add salt to the injury of the scam, the driver was like, I haven't been tipped, and so you need to tip me on top of what you paid for the car ride. And so we ended up having to shell out another extra, 10 bucks for the tip, and so that was a little frustrating as well. My recommendation is to fly into Jorge Newbery Airport, which is right in the middle of the city. It's smack dab in the city center of Buenos Aires, and it's like a 10-minute car ride from the airport to the city center in Recoleta, where your hotel is most likely gonna be. So easy, so convenient. And going through customs and security at Jorge Newbery is so much faster. You get to your baggage claim, you get your bags, you're gone. The wait is so much shorter than going through Ezeiza. The way that you can fly into Jorge Newbery Airport, and this is also what I recommend too, think about flying from the US to Brazil, either Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, or flying to Chile and Santiago, and then adding a small mini side trip to your Buenos Aires trip. That's what we did. We could fly into, we ended up tacking on Chile in the middle of the trip. I would have done it in the beginning if I had known what I know now. But if you fly into Santiago or you fly into Sao Paulo or to Rio, stay there for a couple of days. Soak in those incredible cities for 2 days or 3 days. And on the third day, fly from Rio, Sao Paulo, or Santiago into Buenos Aires. You'll fly into Jorge Newbery, and your life will be so much easier. And you'll have a little side trip to boot, which is really, really a magical experience that can add a whole lot of fun and flavor to your Buenos Aires experience. What are the main neighborhoods or areas to stay or visit when visiting Buenos Aires? So if you're a first-time visitor to Buenos Aires, there's primarily 4 neighborhoods that you're probably going to be centered around, and that is Recoleta, Palermo, San Telmo, and Puerto Madero. These are the neighborhoods you will primarily stick to, as they contain about 95% of the attractions that most first-time visitors want to enjoy and see. Main area that you want to definitely know and be aware of is the Recoleta district. That's most likely where you're going to be staying. It's where I recommend staying, and it's central to everything that you really want to do as a first-time visitor. You know, whether it's museums, whether it's the really beautiful parks, whether it's admiring architecture, restaurants, shopping, all of that is going to be in the Recoleta district. And so having your hotel there makes everything super walkable and super enjoyable, and you can really maximize your time in Buenos Aires by doing that. What's important to know about getting around in Buenos Aires? Google Maps and Google Translate are both extremely helpful. I highly recommend Google Maps and Google Translate. Download the Spanish version on your Google Translate. We use Google Maps for everything. It was extremely proficient, helpful, and accurate, and made getting around the city very easy. Getting around the city in general is quite easy. There are some places where the boulevards and avenues are quite wide, so you do need to kind of be aware and pay attention, because the cars, they don't slow down in Buenos Aires. So you definitely want to walk when you're allowed to walk, and when you're not allowed to walk, stay away, stay off the roads, because you don't want a car whizzing by because they're not going to brake. With regard to walkability, if you stay in the 4 areas that I mentioned, you will find BA to be eminently walkable. I highly recommend walking, because you will come across tons of beautiful architecture that you want to take photos of and admire. And then of course, you will stumble across so many different lush and beautiful parks. Now with that said, you might be going to a museum that's far off and requires you to kind of get in a car or take the subway. I definitely recommend Uber. Uber in Argentina is everywhere in Buenos Aires, and it is super cheap, crazy cheap, so cheap that it makes taking the subway negligible. The subway just simply takes longer than taking an Uber somewhere. And like I said, the Ubers are super cheap. We were going from really large, faraway places from our hotel, $3, $5, $6 fare rides. That's how cheap and inexpensive Ubers are in Buenos Aires, and I highly recommend them. We were able to use our phone without any problem. We had 0 issues using them. If you have T-Mobile, you have free unlimited data while you're there, also in Chile. Additionally, the Wi-Fi worked well at all the museums and hotels where we stayed. We had 0 issues using our phone to order Ubers or use Google Maps to talk one another. It was all perfectly seamless. What are the things that I should definitely make time to see? So I put together a guide that shows 20 different things that you can see. It's fairly comprehensive. It's not everything, but if you're a first-time visitor, these are 20 things that I think that if you check them out, you're going to really enjoy Buenos Aires and feel like you have a depth and understanding of the city, the culture, and the history of both Buenos Aires, the capital, and Argentina as a whole. What should I know about eating out? So I also have another video that I made doing a deep dive on the restaurants that we visited. I talk about what we ate, I talk about what we paid, I talk about the areas that they're located in. They're kind of very close to certain museums if you visit those, to give you an idea of what it's like to eat there. It's all very informative. If you want to do a deep dive, check out that video. How does the currency exchange rate work? So in Argentina, there's a lot of different currency exchange rates. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about 3, and they're the 3 that you really need to know. There's the red dollar, the blue dollar, and what I call the Visa dollar exchange rate. The official rate, or the red dollar, is the one that banks use. to convert currency into the official exchange rate. This is the one that you do not want to use because it definitely does not work in your favor. If you go to a bank or if you go to a hotel looking to exchange it, you're going to get a really crappy rate. And that also applies to your ATMs. So if you're using an ATM, know that you're going to get the red dollar rate, and that is not the rate that you want to use. The blue dollar rate is also the black market rate, and that is the rate that offers you the highest conversion yield for the dollar. So you're going to get the most for your dollar. But the down part about that is that you have to use what are called cambios, which are unofficial people who will take you to an alleyway and a back office and exchange your money. I don't feel comfortable. I don't. Number one, I don't want to be walking around with a brick of money. And number two, I don't want to go to strangers and people I've never met, I don't know, who are taking me to a second location. I don't want to do it. So getting my money converted through cambios for me was not an option. And so there's a third option, which thank God, it's the Visa rate. Visa credit cards offer a preferential rate when you use their credit card in Argentina. That preferential rate is slightly lower than the blue dollar, but it is 70% typically higher than the official red dollar rate. So that is what we did. Instead of walking around with bricks of cash, USD or pesos, any of it, we just simply carried our Visa cards and we used our Visa everywhere. Credit cards are used everywhere in Argentina. You're not going to have a problem using a Visa. It was super easy, super convenient, and super safe. We carried maybe around 50 USD dollars in our pocket, and that was mostly 5s and 1s and 10s. So, and that was just for like tips for waiters. You can also pay with cash, USD. They absolutely love US dollars. They love that hard currency, but there's a couple of things about the US dollars you need to know. Number one, those bills cannot be ripped or torn or dog-eared. They cannot have any kind of writing or scrawl or stains on the currency. And do not attempt to use a $100 bill or a $50 bill. You want to stick to 20s, 10s, 5s. They don't really like ones, but I used ones and they didn't have a problem with that. They really mostly like 5, 10s, and 20s, but hundreds people get a little scared of because I guess they think it's like fake. Also, if you pay with USD, if you let people know that, hey, I'm going to pay with USD, quiero pagar en USD in dollars, they're going to give you the blue official exchange rate. So that is the most optimal exchange rate that there is. What else? Is there anything else? What else should I know in terms of practical information? So there is an online newspaper called the Buenos Aires Herald. It is an English-speaking newspaper. Definitely check that newspaper out as your trip comes up. You want to definitely read about what's going on in the country, and you definitely want to make sure that your trip is not coinciding with some major event. And if it is, you want to make potentially some alternate plans. I didn't read the Buenos Aires Herald, so I didn't know the day we landed that there was a presidential election. So we lost an entire day because everything was closed because folks were voting. I wish you well. I hope you have a safe and fun and exhilarating experience in Buenos Aires. It is one of my all-time favorite cities. I plan to go back there, hopefully for the rest of my life. I absolutely love Argentina. I love Buenos Aires, and I hope you do too. Take care.